Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is my second time streaming because I had to get the lasagna ready to go in the oven. But anyway, so Heartland week, and season 14, episode 10 came out last Sunday. So I thought that since I've seen it, I would do a overview of the whole season, pretty much how I felt about it, how what my favorite parts were about, what I think will happen in season 14, if 15, if there is a season 15, how I'll feel about that. Yeah. So the way season 14's ending, the way that the episode ended was a good way to end the series. We do see Amy finally, well, not really deal with Ty's death, but deal with it in a way that she still remembers Ty, but it isn't like haunting her and making her feel sad and guilty, but it makes her feel like she can move on with her life while still remembering Ty. We also see Lou and Mitch decide not to get married, so that might be the end of their relationship. And Lou mostly decides these things because she realizes Peter still has feelings for her. And she also realizes that Mitch really does want kids and Lou doesn't really want any more kids, so that's kind of, because they're incompatible that way, they kind of have to not do what they not really marry. And the season ended in a way that if that is the end of the series, you won't feel like there's a hole and questions need to be answered, which Heartland has a mix of both good endings and bad endings, like cliffhangers and stuff, but I'm not going to get into that. Okay, so now, how season 14 made me feel. I will say, I did figure out what happened in the first episode of season 14 before I actually watched it, mostly because I watched all these videos on behind the scenes of season 14 stuff, how people are saying, like, Ty's not there, where's Ty? And watched videos on season 14 is coming out this date. The plot line is that a tragedy pulls the family together, so maybe Ty dies. And then it was actually the Monday after the first episode, so this was like February or January. And it was doing in my work experience class. I was typing out some documents for my teacher, and before because on my phone when I go into Google, articles pop up on my phone sometimes, and I saw that, and it was a picture of, it's actually the thumbnail of this video, because I got it from the website, popped up, and it explained that fans were still in shock because of the tragedy. I'm like, well, I don't really have time to read this right now. But I kept thinking about it, and I was so intrigued that at work experience, I actually searched up the article. And because season 14, some questions have been drawn, maybe Ty and Amy get divorced, maybe Ty dies, maybe Spartan dies, something like that. And I finally read the article, and it mentioned that Ty died, so I knew that Ty died before I even watched season 14. So I knew that when I watched season 14 with my mom and my sister, I'd probably need a tissue box because, yeah, things like that really get me in TV shows. Especially Christian movies, like, even if no one dies in Christian movies, but it's such a good plotline, good end of story, it really gets me. I watched a movie called What If last week. It was really good. By the end of it, I was almost crying. I probably would have cried, but I forced myself not to because I cry in a lot of Christian movies. But I did cry in episode 14. And this kind of made me sad because, as you all know, and I've mentioned many times, Ty isn't my favorite character. But I did pretty much predict his death, okay? I did a video on Ty titled, "Thank God He's Not Dead Yet." And I did state in that video that Ty has been through so much. Ty has been in probation, he's been in jail, he's been in a plane accident, he's been in a motorcycle accident, he's been sick, he's been all these things, and he hasn't died yet. But I pretty much said that I didn't title that video, "Thank God He Isn't Dead," because I'm like, Heartland might go drastic measures and actually kill off Ty. Now, of course, based on my feelings of season 12 and 13, and I have stated this multiple times, 12 and 13, scrap them. They should have never happened. They should have ended season 11. So, and Heartland wasn't really, season 12 and 13 were kind of getting boring and were kind of not really piquing my interest. So I'm like, you know what? If season 14 does a good job, I will still watch it, and if it does a good job, it might become in my top 10 of Heartland seasons. Now, of course, with killing off a major character like Ty, that can lose viewership because no one wants to watch anymore because their favorite character dies. And I did mention this in quite a few previous Heartland videos. A lot of Heartland fans, like Hannah King and some other people, have talked about this. But the way that Heartland handled Ty's death, and this is the question, like, if Heartland handles Ty's death, and if they do kill off Ty in a good way, people will keep watching the show, and the show will continue to prosper, hence getting more seasons. But if they don't, Heartland will dwindle and will lose viewership, and the show will end up being cancelled, which, if it doesn't being cancelled, I'm good with that. If it continues, I'm okay with that. And they didn't, and the way they killed off Ty worked for season 13, and they kind of had to because Grandma was like, you know what, I don't want to be on the show anymore. I've done this for 13 years. I feel like it's time to move on, and the Heartland crew is like, okay, you go do that. Now what do we do? So then they decide, Ty going off to Mongolia doesn't really work. Ty and Amy divorcing doesn't really work. So we have to decide, they made the hard choice to kill off Ty, which of course is very sad for all of us Heartland fans. And the way that the characters dealt with their grief was very, very well done. We see Amy, who deals with it the most, and then we see Lou, who deals with it later on in, I think, episode 3. Whatever episode is before the chlorine one. I think it's episode 3. We see Jack deal with it in episode 2, as well as Tim deal with it in episode 1, and that mostly we do see Caleb deal with it a bit in episode 8 and a bit in episode 1. We see Georgia deal with it in episode 1. Lisa, we don't really see Lisa deal with it, but we do bet that she probably is going through that stage of grief, losing a family member. And I did explain in the video, Amy is the one going through the most because she lost a spouse, and losing a husband or wife is more a toll than losing a sibling or a friend or a parent or a grandparent. And Tim doesn't really go through that much, mostly because we know his feelings were tied, but Tim does go through that, and we do see him at the end of season 1, the first episode, tearing down the house that Amy told him to, and he is almost crying. And it's pretty much collapsed on the floor because of how hard it is for him to do that. And Tim did explain second episode that the tearing down house is a good way to take out your anger, and he did that. We do see Jack do it in the second episode because Ty was like a son to him, and because of that, Jack starts lashing out at Quinn because of the cattle drive. And Tim does explain to him, I don't think it's who's on this cattle drive, it's who isn't. We do see that again in episode 6. Ty does explain to Lisa, he's like, how can I be happy? I shouldn't be allowed to be happy because of Ty. But then Lisa's like, no, you're allowed to be happy. That's okay. You can be happy. And we do see Lou, she doesn't call him a brother-in-law, she calls him a brother. And of course with Georgie, she does have a little moment in that first episode where she thinks she sees Ty when she really doesn't. We do see Lily deal with it a bit. And we do see even Lindy. Lindy doesn't even know that her dad is gone. She just thinks that he is off somewhere and that when he comes back, he'll want to ride Harley, and Amy has to explain that to her. So as of how season 14 made me feel, the first episode I cried. I'm actually almost crying talking about this. Second episode I almost cried. Sixth episode with Ty and Lisa, I almost cried. This was actually the season in Heartland that I have almost cried the most. As part of the episodes, I haven't really cried that much. Rewatching the season, I did cry a few times, but this has the most amount of tear-jerking moments in Heartland history for me. But it did feel sad that Ty was gone, but they Heartland did it in a way that, after a while, I got used to Ty not being there, and I felt that I can also move on with Ty. Now, of course, as of season 15, this will be the last bit because this video is getting kind of long. With season 15, stuff that might happen. We did see Georgie. Scout did give her a number for Equestrian Canada, so that might happen. Lou and Peter might get back together. We'll see. There's that whole Tim and Jessica thing. There's Amy still kind of dealing with Ty's death bit. And of course, you all know how I feel about season 14. I did do a video on this. It's got like 2,000 views. I did do also a video on Ty's death. That's got about 2,000 views. This video might have that many. But pretty much, if season 15 does come out, I won't be happy. I'll only show you my season 11, but I will watch it because I'm a Heartland fan. I want to give you guys new videos on the current stuff, so I will watch that. So, that's going to be pretty much it for this video. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, comment down below how season 14 made you feel, and how you think, and how season 14 was for you, if you think it was a bad season or a good season. And be sure to hit the notification bell and stay tuned for tomorrow's video, which I don't remember what it is. Right, see you.